evening. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Here.
Fluharty,
Here.
Asbury,
Here.
Saunders,
Here.
Cochi,
Here.
Spinks. Here.
You can have a motion to excuse Councilwoman Mezak by Saunders, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks. Yes.
Okay, Council, you have the minutes of the work session of January 18th, 2022. That should be, it's wrong, it's right on there. We're good there. On 2022, any corrections? Seeing none, have a motion for acceptance by Janutus, second by Spinks. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks. Abstain.
And, okay. Have a lot of old business to take care of here. What do we need to say? I checked in. The minutes of the regular session of January 18th, 2022. Any corrections to that? Seeing none, motion for acceptance. By Asbury, second by Saunders. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks. Abstain.
Okay. Ordinance number 9936-22. I believe it's our intention right now to table that. There's been some work going on in that property, so. Yeah, go ahead.
No, we're
We're gonna table it.
There was a home explosion at the residential house at 312 Marion. The owner has, in good faith, been working with the building department. There's been contractors over there working to address the exterior. And with those intents, we'd like to table this for right now, for a couple more weeks to make sure that it continues to move in the right direction.
Thank you. Yes.
Mike, I know we don't allow people to board up windows. This house is completely boarded up because it blew out the whole entire wall of the house on the driveway side, but,
Yeah, we are keeping an eye on it, but it's not boarded up because the home was exploded, it was a fire.
it blew out every
So,
window in the
right, but
house.
the fire department responded, and we've had other homes where the fire department's had to respond, and if there's been a fire, they have to be boarded up to secure it. He's aware of that.
Okay.
So it's a little different than a normal home that a property owner just wants to board up the windows because he's not ready to replace them.
Yeah, he put a new front door on at least, so it's not just propped up on it. So hopefully he'll continue moving it forward with it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I have a motion to table by Spinks, second by Fluharty? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks. Yes.
Ordinance number 9937-22.
An ordinance approving a community reinvestment area agreement between the City of Bedford and Bartlett LLC and authorizing the execution of that agreement and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Janutus. Clerk, call the roll.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Saunders, second by Asbury. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a tax abatement for under Bartlett LLC, but in essence, it is J Honda Automotive Group. J Honda has purchased all of the property at the corner of Bartlett and Rockside that's been vacant forever, decades. The intent is to relocate the used car Honda operations to the former Pacatans, and all the new car, a new dealership will be built at that site. The new dealership will be substantially larger than the current facility, and the intent is obviously to retain all the employees that are currently there, but in addition, they'll be adding a minimum of 40 new jobs to that site. And they hope to have that open sometime in 2023.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number, 9938-22.
Amending ordinance number 9754-20, establishing pay ranges as amended and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion for suspension by Saunders, second by Asbury. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
A motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus. Mike?
I'll take it.
Or Frank? Mike?
There- I'm on a roll. There is, we have an ordinance that outlines all of the class titles and levels from an administrative standpoint, and it lays out the minimum hiring range when those positions are to be filled. Overall, this ordinance was last analyzed, it was in roughly 1999, 2000. Our finance director did a great job. He put together a survey, thank you, a survey of, I think it's over 20 neighboring communities, comparable communities, what their pay of their certain positions are, identified those averages, and those averages were put in this ordinance. In addition, we looked at some of the positions that we currently had. For instance, the fire chief and police chief used to be on a level 3. Based on what those numbers are, they were simply moved to a level 2. No pay increases were granted. It's just cleaning up that ordinance in that regards. We do have a couple positions that we will be filling. Obviously, we're currently advertising for an assistant finance director. City council has chosen a new finance director, so some of that is entailed in this ordinance.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9939-22.
9939-22, authorizing the city manager to enter into a Phase 2 stormwater services agreement with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health for the authority and consent to provide Phase 2 stormwater services in years 2022 and 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension, Saunders, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Fluharty, second by Spinks. Mike?
Yes. This is an agreement that we have with the Board of Health. The Board of Health helps us with all kinds of public notification, education materials as it relates to our stormwater permit. And this is required for that permit through the Ohio EPA. If we did not enter into this agreement and if the Board of Health did not provide it, we would have to be doing that anyways. As I said, it's part of our permit, and this agreement basically allows them to conduct those activities for us.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
yes,
Ordinance number 9940-22.
Authorizing the city manager to negotiate a grant of easement for the storm sewer management and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Fluharty, second by Spinks. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
yes,
Motion for third and final. Asbury, second by Saunders. Mike?
This is this ordinance grants the city of Bedford, city manager, authority to enter into this easement agreement with the property owner. There's a storm sewer that runs through that property. We've had to make numerous repairs to that, which we did finish last year. And obviously, the ordinance and the agreement outlines the specifics of that easement. There's a legal description, and basically this is authorizing myself to enter in and sign that document with the property owner when both parties are satisfied with that, and it will be filed with Cuyahoga County.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
yes,
Ordinance number 9941-22.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Valley Ford to purchase a 2020 Ford Explorer and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Fluharty, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
yes,
Motion for third and final by Asbury, second by Saunders. Mike?
This is, as Law Director mentioned, it's a 2022 Ford Explorer. It's going to be replacing another Ford Explorer. The vehicle that it's going to be replacing is going to be moving over to our police department. So we're kind of shifting vehicles around. The one ultimately that this is replacing is an old Buick that we had purchased years ago. The Buick currently has 184,000 miles and needs substantial repairs. It's simply not worth making those repairs. So we're purchasing this, shifting some cars around to replace the vehicle in police.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
yes,
Ordinance number 9942-22.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Rush Truck Centers for the purchase of a 2023 International truck, cab, and chassis to be equipped with salt spreader and a plow hitch pursuant to Ohio Department of Transportation bid and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension, Fluharty, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
yes,
Motion for third and final, Saunders, second by Asbury. Mike?
And just for the record, all of these vehicles that we are purchasing, they've all been budgeted for. We're going to be going down a long list of vehicle purchases. These were all included in our budget where the department heads and council approved last fall. This specific ordinance is a state bid ordinance for a new salt truck. And this salt truck is going to be replacing a 2000 salt truck. So we got our use out of the vehicle that it's replacing, almost 22 years old. And I will say we did have about a week and a half ago we did have a transmission go down on one of our main salt trucks. Staff were working to repair, and then we had one of them go down during the storm last week, and we were able to get that towed in. Our mechanics do a great job keeping these vehicles, extending the life on them as years go by. But again, this purchase, state bid, and it's replacing a 22-year-old vehicle.
And Mayor, real quickly, and it's also to lock into the low prices before the prices, that's why that we're doing all these vehicles now, because the prices are gonna go up in the near future if we don't take advantage of it now, so we're trying to save the community money, a lot of money.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9943-22.
To enter into a contract with Valley Ford to purchase a 2022 Ford F-450 4x4 dump truck with a plow and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Saunders, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Fluharty, second by Spinks.
This dump truck, this is also a state bid for this vehicle, and it is replacing a 2002 dump truck.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9944-22.
To enter into contract with J Auto Group for the purchase of one 2022 GMC Sierra 4x4 pickup truck and declaring an emergency.
Can I have a motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Fluharty? Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Asbury, second by Saunders. Again, Mike,
This is the 4x4 pickup truck. We're going to be replacing a 2002 pickup truck. We did receive a second quote from Valley Ford. Valley Ford was significantly higher than J Auto Group, and it's our recommendation to go with J.
thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9945-22.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with J Auto Group for the purchase of one 2022 GMC Sierra a pickup truck, regular cab, and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Fluharty, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Asbury, second by Saunders. Again, Mike?
This is a two-wheel drive pickup truck. We did receive two quotes, one from J Auto and the second from Valley Ford, comparable vehicle. J Auto was the cheaper of the two, and this would be replacing a 2005 pickup truck.
Yeah, and again, as we said, it's a testament to our mechanics down the garage. What a good job they do keeping these vehicles on the road for us. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9946-22.
To enter into a contract with Montrose Ford to purchase two vehicles, two 2022 Ford Explorers for the police department and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Saunders, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Fluharty. Mike?
This is for, these two vehicles are part of the state co-op purchasing agreement through Montrose, and they are for two new police cruisers, patrol cruisers.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9947-22.
To enter into a contract with Hall Public Safety to outfit the two police 2022 Ford Explorers and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension, Saunders, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
And motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Fluharty.
This is a contract to outfit the two new cruisers. Hall's done a great job over the last, however many years we've been using them. They've actually come to us instead of us shipping out the new cruisers to them or to a company to outfit them. Hall will actually come on site here. We work with our fire department in utilizing the bays and the space, and they turn it over very, very quickly, and we're able to get these on the road as soon as possible.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And ordinance number 9948-22.
Authorizing a contract with KTS Equipment, Inc. for the purchase of one model 3100 towable stump grinder from KTS Equipment and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final, Saunders, second by Asbury. Mike?
This is, as the ordinance states, it's for a new stump grinder for the service department. Our current stump grinder is in 1994. It is on again, off again. We've had issues with it, it goes down, our guys repair it, it's back up and running, goes down again. It's obviously reached the end of its useful life. The difference with this piece of equipment is, especially with the large stumps, our current equipment, we can get that cleaned up, grind it down. For the large trees, take about some have taken 4 hours, but typically around 3 hours to get all of that done. With this new piece of equipment, it's substantially larger, and we can get those done in about an hour. So we can get through, we have a long list of them that still need to get taken down. Obviously, with some of the older ash trees that will probably need to come down, we'll be getting our use out of this equipment.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9949-22.
An ordinance providing for the adoption of new matter in the codified ordinance of Bedford to approve, adopt, and enact the January 2022 replacement pages, to repeal certain ordinances in conflict therewith or deemed obsolete and declaring an emergency.
Motion for suspension by Asbury, second by Saunders. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus. This is your thing.
I can do it too.
John can do it, yeah.
This is just, there's been some recent changes in Ohio law that require our amending our code to be in sync with the state code regarding towing and gambling offenses, believe it or not. So we're updating it to comply with the recent changes in the law with the state of Ohio. You can't be more restricted. You gotta be in compliance with what the state recommends.
It is our clerk that works with the company to get all this stuff together. So-
Yes, she handles it from there.
And call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And that just takes care of the old business. That's a lot of it. Now we want to get to reports. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple items here real quickly. I just want to announce that the city was recently awarded a grant through NOPEC for $33,000, roughly a little over $33,000. Jennifer Kuzma in our development department handles a lot of that. We're going to be meeting to discuss the best uses for that. It has to go towards energy energy efficiency projects, or similar uses. So we'll be discussing some of that internally and sharing that with council soon. I'm sure most have probably received this by now. If you didn't, there's some outside. This is just our recent winter spring program guide through the Parks and Recreation Department. They're planning a lot of different activities. There's information on use of the facility, job opportunities. So if you didn't get that in the mail, let us know, but you should have. If not, there's some laying around here. Grab it. A lot of great stuff going on within the department. We also, County Planning, Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, they recently released the tree grant. And if you recall, a few years ago, we did apply for this grant, and we were successful. We planted, I think, 100 trees throughout the community. In some of the areas where we've had to take down, like some of the ash trees, our intent is to apply for that again. Clint, in our service department, Sean and Jen work very closely. They have this all identified and in what areas that we're going to target, and then we'll most likely go for the max again for this grant. So I believe that's due, it's due in March. So we'll be bringing that information to council in the upcoming meetings. We'll need to pass some legislation. Some of our staff met with our consortium that we work with. There's about 4 communities regarding our refuse collection contract. That contract is going to be coming up later this year. So we're going to be putting together the bid documents, bid information that'll be going out. And then the hope is to bring a recommendation to all of the communities, obviously bringing a recommendation to Bedford City Council with the hopes of awarding that contract in April. So we're looking at, kind of what those numbers are going to be and see for obviously the next number of years moving forward. We've also got some information from ODOT. At a recent mayors and managers meeting, ODOT District 12 provided some information on some upcoming projects. Obviously, we know about the Broadway project that they're going to be working through, but there's some other projects that we're glad to see them on their radar, and those are in particular the Norfield Road Bridge. That is on their radar. There's going to be substantial improvements taking place on the bridge. And their early estimates are they hope to award that contract early 2023. So probably about this time, sometime this time next year, the hope is they'll be close to awarding that project, and construction will be taking place next year. The other project, it's a substantial project. If you've seen, they were down in the area today, boring, is the Union Street Bridge. Believe it or not, that little bridge is probably going to cost, their early estimates are about $3.6 million. It will probably be more than that. That is also slated for next year. That little strip is packed with utilities, and it's going to be very, very complicated. I will say they even explored building a bridge right next to it, and ultimately vacating that because of the utilities. I don't think that's where they're going. I can't speak for ODOT, but that's going to be a substantial project. They've been out a number of times last year. They were boring again today, but that is also slated for next year. And then obviously Broadway, the plan is it'll be taking place later this year. And we're also going to be bidding our portion of Broadway soon. We did our plan was to bid it right after the first of the year. What we did was, we had United Survey. It was a company we used to televise and clean sewers throughout the community through a grant. We came in under, so we had some dollars left, and we wanted them to televise some other areas. One being in the historic district, across from the coffee shop, and then there was another one down on the hill in Councilman Fluharty's ward. And we identified some substantial sewer repairs that have to be made. So the reason we haven't bid Broadway yet, we're adding those repairs into this bid. So our engineer is finalizing that now. Once that's finalized, that whole project will be going out to bid, and we'll be working through that this year. And as we get closer, we'll communicate that with obviously the downtown, the business owners, the residents in the area, because it'll be a challenge, but it's going to be necessary for us to take care of what we need to take care of before ODOT comes in and resurfaces all of Broadway. So a lot of construction over the next probably 24 months necessary. There's one other project that I hinted to them, and I'm waiting on a response, and that is actually the resurfacing of Norfield Road. They identified the bridge, but we'd like to see what their plan is for Norfield Road, because there's areas of that are very challenging and in need of repair. So once we hear, we'll communicate that with the public. And lastly, I just want to mention, just kind of want to give a little bit of a compliment to our service department throughout last week. Even leading up to the snowstorm that we got, they really outlined a plan, prepared, adjusted staffing. They worked really hard to remove some of the snow that was built up in some of the dead-end streets, some of the cul-de-sacs. If you notice, we removed a lot of this excess snow throughout the historic district, knowing that we were getting a lot more coming. And then throughout the storm, they really did a good job. I mean, obviously, we're not perfect. There's areas that we can improve, but all things considering, being here throughout, seeing some of the neighboring communities, what they were dealing with. We had 2 employees actually in a neighboring community. They were actually, their street was never plowed. Their car was in the middle of the street stuck. Obviously, that doesn't happen here. If it does, let me know, but we don't go 24 hours without hitting the street, and those guys really worked hard. So kudos to them. We do put out the information regarding parking. I know that's a challenge, the parking ban. We put that out for everybody's safety. It's not just the safety of the plow drivers and making it easy to plow streets, but it's really for the safety of the other motorists that are driving and the pedestrians as well. Those parking bans. Unfortunately, there were some that were ticketed. We did have an abandoned vehicle that ultimately was towed. It's not something that we want to do, but we do try to put that out. We did put it out early last week, and for the most part, everybody cooperated, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to them. They really did a good job. End of report.
Thank you. Mr. Law Director, yes.
Thank you. I have really no report. Just welcome everyone. We are going to be amending our new business section to include the purchase of a new Stryker EMS unit for the fire department that we want to get right away for the safety of the residents and to take advantage of the price. So we will be amending that. That's the only change to the original agenda.
Thank you. Finance Director.
Yeah, just a couple items. I noticed on this purchases, as you noticed, we have quite a bit of purchasing this year. That's done because Mike and I, we worked and Jennifer with the budgets early this year and council passing that. Because you passed that, that's the advantage of having it done early before the year starts, and you're allowed to go right into those purchases, just so you know why we do that early. The auditors are in already, starting to work on some of the items that we're finishing up for our year-end reports. And the tax system today was updated, and some maintenance done on that to bring it up to date. So those are the items that have been going on, and that's all I had for tonight.
Thank you. Council, Mr. Janutus.
Thank you. Well, there's a lot of construction going on in the next couple of years. We'll be happy about that, and some great road work, all of Broadway done. And of course, for my part of it, I have to say that I hope Solon Road is pretty soon to be done also, because I think that's, after what's going to be done that you talked about, I think Solon Road is the next worst road in our city. There is an ordinance coming up here, 995122, that just says allow for virtual meetings. I'll be voting against that as the way it's written. Presently, I believe we need to fully get back to meeting in person and with one another, not only as it improves our communication both verbally and non-verbally, but in recognition of the great harm to society caused by the last 2 years of lockdowns and isolation. As municipal leaders, we need to also respond to society at large in the best interests of not only our personal conveniences. So we intend to put that on first reading. There'll be a lot more that we'll discuss about that going forward. So I want to explain that part of my vote coming forward. Thank you. End of report.
Thank you. Mr. Fluharty?
Mayor, I just want to thank the service department too and PD for all the work they've done in the last couple weeks with all the snow that we've been getting. And Mike, is there any way we can get Norfield Bridge shoveled?
Yeah, actually, just before the snowstorm last week, our crew did go out to start on the one side. What they do is we have to close down the one lane, and they take it off the walk, and then they use the bucket, and they scoop it out, dump it in the dump, and then they ship it out. When they started, they only got a small portion, and there was an area of the bridge, it blew out the front wheel of the backhoe that was dumping it out. So they got that taken down, and we started that Wednesday morning. And then obviously the snowstorm hit, but we'll get out there and clear that bridge. We will.
I drove down there today and there was a couple people walking in the street. And of course, they gotta go get their groceries from the apartments, and that's just, we can at least clear one side. I think that makes a big difference, keep the people off the streets. I'm trying to think what else I have written here. And that's it, end of report.
Thank you. Mr. Asbury?
Thank you, Mayor. You notice my voice is a little froggy tonight. It's just a regular head cold. And I think I got it from our snowball fight on the square Friday. If you didn't see that, Laura Hewlett from the bike shop and from the Bedford Downtown Alliance had a great idea Tuesday or Wednesday of last week and said, hey, what do you think about we have a snowball fight downtown on the square? So we told her to run with it. She put her little flyer together and it was posted on the social media. Bedford Downtown Alliance pushed that out. Some other cities actually picked up on it. Thought it was a pretty neat thing to do. So we went down at 5 o'clock and the snow wasn't optimal for a snowball fight, but we still had fun. We were down there for about an hour. There's probably, I would think, 40 people, adults, kids, adults that wanted to be kids. So we had a good time. We made Channel 5 News at 11 o'clock. They did a little run-in story on us going into their weather broadcast, so that was kind of neat. No injuries except for one little minor scrape on the nose, so we did pretty good. I'd like to thank Brett Holycross, who was down there from Cernas, told everybody to come down for $5 burgers after the event. K-Design was open. They had pizza and hot chocolate for people that wanted to warm up after our snowball fight. And Bedford Falls Cafe also stayed open. So it was a pretty cool event, and I'm sure we'll do something like that again. To echo other sentiments up here about the service department, they do a great job. They do have obstacles in their way, and I'm glad to see that some of these cars were ticketed and one was actually moved, towed out of the way. So it makes their job a little bit easier when they don't have obstacles in their way. Police and fire also did fantastic jobs. I listened to the scanner a little bit. I can't remember if it was Wednesday night or Thursday night, but there were a couple motorists that got stranded. One was on Columbus Road near Archer, which is kind of a dangerous spot. They went out there and they got the vehicle pushed off to the side of the road. I think they went up onto Archer. There was another one on First Avenue where a lady was stuck in the middle of the street with cars coming, and they got her pushed out and pushed into her driveway. So police, fire, everybody did a great job during this last storm, and I appreciate that. Thank you. The Historical Society on Saturday, February 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is a celebration of Dr. Seuss. So what it sounds like they're going to be doing is having Dr. Seuss stories read by special guests.
They're gonna have games, crafts, and cartoons for all ages. And the best part is the admission is free. So mark your calendars, February 26th, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Kids, grandkids, have a fun time yourself. Okay. Oh, one other thing, I'll just give you a little tease. Bedford Downtown Alliance Chocolate Walk for 2022 will be Saturday, May 14th. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Always fun. Mr. Saunders.
All right, first, I want to give kudos to our hospital, Bedford Medical Center. They probably had the most sidewalk of any business in the city, and they make sure that it's completely cleaned off, and they also salted so that it gets down to the actual pavement for the sidewalk too. If they can do it, the rest of the businesses can do it too. They stretch all the way from Center Road, all the way up Blaine, around the corner on Logan and down Columbus. Not to mention they also have property on the other side of Blaine too. And their sidewalks are almost always clean shortly after they get their parking lots clean. So I want to give them kudos for doing that, because I know a lot of the nurses in that area also walk it. Unfortunately, during the good days, they'll walk it down Island Street on Logan and around, but right now there's so much snow, mostly because of private plow drivers who plow mountains in the sidewalks. But hopefully we're going to be able to do something about some of these plow drivers, because not only are they plowing it on the sidewalk, they're plowing it into the street. My section of Logan right now, I think, is maybe 12 foot wide, all because of people plowing snow into the street. Which then again brings you to the parking issue. If you can't see the curb, I wouldn't park on the street, because we do have an ordinance that states you have to park within a foot of the curb. And there's one, which I sent pictures to Mike earlier today, the guy's 2 feet from the center of the road. So the UPS driver had a hell of a time getting by him earlier today. So I hate to see what happens if they're parked on the street when Kimball tries to get by in the next couple days too. People don't realize that the emergency vehicles, the police, well, police are okay because they're pretty much a car. But if fire and EMS have to get through, those are bigger vehicles too. And if you've got a one-lane road that's narrowed by anywhere from 5, 6, in some cases 7 feet because of snow, and then somebody parks, it's very difficult to get by. So please stay off the street until you can see the curb. It would help the rest of the residents and your neighbors, because not only is it a problem for traveling public on the road, but try backing out of your driveway when somebody's sitting almost in the middle of the street because they can't get close to the curb. That becomes a major issue when the snow is piled up this high. Now granted, everybody says, oh, this was an unusual snowstorm. Well, it was 2 back-to-back unusual snowfalls. But if you remember, 10 years ago, this was commonplace every winter. So we gotten spoiled over the last few winters because we didn't have these big, massive snowstorms. I remember the days when it would snow mid-November and you didn't see the ground again until mid-March. So we're getting back to the way it used to be, it looks like. But please be considerate and courteous of your neighbors and your other residents in the city. Keep your car off the street unless it's an absolute emergency. Now, onward to the next thing. Union Street. Mike, ODOT's planning on replacing what they're calling a bridge, which, by the way, it is not technically a bridge. It is a earthen-filled structure. That's why there's so many utilities through it. It's actually a retaining wall filled with dirt that spans the valley there. So that's why the utilities are in there like it currently is. Now granted, it is falling apart. There's no question about that. But can we make sure when they replace that, which good luck, I don't know how they're going to relocate all those utilities, but that they use a sandstone stamped concrete on the bridge so that it doesn't look like a standard freeway type structure going across that valley, and we get some type of a historic look back onto it. They have done it in other areas in the past, and I would hope that they would do it here, given the fact that they are pulling down a structure that's been there for quite a while. The other thing is I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there's two giant potholes on Broadway, one by over East Monroe, West Monroe, East Monroe. Yeah, the Pompeys, and the other one's up by the Auto Mile. So hopefully we can get those. I know our crews are still working on repairing equipment and so forth, and it's kind of hard to put something in these holes and have it stay. But we need to do something about that, because several people called me actually and said they almost broke wheels on both of them. Now, I noticed there was a cone in the one by the Pompey, so at least that helps a little bit, but.
I hit the one on, by the Pompey last week, and Councilman Asbury sent me the other one, so we're aware of it, I sent them over.
All right, that's good to know. Lastly, I want to make a comment that a lot of you may or may not have known former Councilman Warner Batten. He passed away here 2 weeks ago, actually on the 22nd of January. He was on council for 28 years. Now, it wasn't continuous, but he was on council for 28 years. And he was actually mayor for 4 months. So he did a lot for this city. He ran most of the festivals. But the underlying things that people don't realize is we had our own chapter of Salvation Army, and he ran that for many, many, many years. He's helped out the Lions Club. If any of you had ever been to the Salvation Army dinner at Thanksgiving, he ran that for many years along with volunteers and so forth. But he did so much for this area. He's going to be sorely missed, because I doubt very likely if anybody's going to be able to pick up what he did. Somehow, I don't know how he did what he did in some cases, but he worked with the food program. He helped out needy people through the Salvation Army that needed help. Anybody would call him, he'd be there right away. There was a lot of stuff that he did underlying, but probably the biggest thing was the festivals that were on the square for all those years. The street dance, the Oktoberfest, we had a pumpkin festival for a number of years. And he helped the Rotary in their rib burn off. He helped the Historical Society in their Strawberry Festival. He helped in everything. So he's going to be missed. It's going to be strange to go to some of these activities and not see him sitting under one of the tents. The other thing they don't realize is that almost all the tents that were set up at these festivals, he did a lot of them by himself ahead of time and then took them down. So the dedication that he put forth for this community is second to none, and he will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe he had a private burial service, but they're gonna plan on doing a memorial sometime in the future.
He was cremated. They're gonna have a memorial service hopefully when the weather breaks in the spring sometime.
Also, the patching crew was out today filling holes.
Well, that's
I don't know if they did Broadway yet, but I saw them.
I think
They were on
they
Northfield.
did both on Broadway, because I came by after work and we didn't.
Didn't get them. Well, good. The other thing, Mike, I forgot to mention earlier, in Union and Broadway and William, when they redid Union Street, they need to redo the automatic lights there. Now it's on just like a regular cycle. I came by at like 1 o'clock in the morning and no traffic at all. I'm on Broadway and I had to wait just because the light came on. And it used to be one of the quickest lights in town to switch, so it was, anyhow, I forgot to mention that earlier.
Union, Broadway, and William.
Yeah.
And the loops were cut.
And, again, thanks for all Service Department, no. Yes, Sandy's next. Mrs. Spinks,
I didn't thank you for that, I was just letting you finish.
well, we saved the best for last.
I don't know about all that. So then about going to last, everybody's pretty much said a lot of stuff. As the vice president and a longtime member of the Historical Society, I just want to let everybody know that we are opened again on, their times are Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to 4. But I don't know if you've had a chance, our new wonderful store, gift shop that we have there in the museum is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. So that stays open a little bit longer. They're not advertising, if someone comes in there and they absolutely want a tour, I don't think they're gonna turn you down, but Lord Schroeder has done a absolute phenomenal job on getting that gift shop up and running. We have a lot of local artists that have their wear there, but it's just, it's right when you go into the museum. So if you have a chance or need a gift for Valentine's, make sure you go see Lori down at the Historical Society Museum. Also, Jeff kind of covered the Dr. Seuss birthday celebration. I'm excited. I'll be one of the readers this year. I just hope the kids are able to understand me with my little bit of accent that I still have. Everybody touched base on the snow, and yes, our crews did do a good job. The only, concern me and Vic had kind of turned about it, because we did just come off another blast, and then we get blasted here, is just I don't know what we can do, but it's just so unsafe for our kids. Our kids have nowhere to stand when they're catching the bus. I was out this morning, and, because there's not much places to do it, so where the sidewalk's not being closed, and yeah, there is, but I've seen what's happened to a lot of residents not being able to, and this is some complaints that I've got. They would go out and do their sidewalk, and then snowplow would come by and have nowhere to push it, so they would push it over the sidewalk at the end of their driveway. Well, that person couldn't, I know myself, I couldn't get out there with a snow shovel, or either, my snowblower would not handle that. So I seen that by going around today. So I know me and Vic had kind of talked about it, and I drove around other cities today too. Me and my husband, if we thought it was really bad here, we actually drove around and don't know, it's kind of a bad place, but East Cleveland, and I felt so sorry for those residents, because there were streets after streets. We were out looking at there's beautiful architecture over there. Some of the older houses are just beautiful. So we were out for a Sunday drive. There was still cars that were just stuck. Well, you could tell they were trying to go in their driveway or come out. Just street after street that had not been touched. Meaning, if a emergency vehicle wanted to get down that street, they weren't getting down there. So, we have it bad here, but thank goodness for, our guys and stuff. But, there's so many, it's so hard, and I want to say big thank you to our neighbor, Eddie DeWarwick, bless his heart. He got a brand new snowblower, and he came out Thursday when it started, and he did our driveway, and he did all the sidewalks around as far as he could for everybody. 3 or 4 times. He was out there. He even went back out at night for a couple of residents that he knew had to work. So big thank you to Eddie for doing that. He said he was having fun, but it was cold out there, and I thank him for doing that. But I know me and Vic had talked about Oakwood does a program, and I know that there's numbers that you can call for seniors down at the rec center. But the thing is, there's still 17, 18, 20, 25 bucks for, that might not sound like a much to y'all, but I know someone that's on a senior, or someone 55 or something, or just that's on a fixed income, that's a lot of money. So I don't know if there's something that we can look into, grants or something, to at least be able to, I know Garfield doesn't do it, I know Bedford Heights, but I was out this morning and there was still a lot of sidewalks and stuff that were not done. at Bedford Heights, the main streets, sidewalks done, and you get it where people, catching the bus, again, where do they have to stand? They have to go out in the street. We have residents that they depend on going to the grocery store, Giant Eagle and other places. What's their transportation? They have motorized scooters, or they have a wheelchair, that's how they go and get their groceries, or they're out in the middle of the street. I did notice that Valleyfield was good, they cleaned, but once you get past there, Metro had done nothing. And all the way up Rockside, all the way down, nothing was done. So the people catching the bus have nowhere to stand but the sidewalks. So I don't know if there's something we could do with grants, or something, or we can contract a business to do that. But, like I said, I felt so bad for our kids this morning, literally not having anywhere to stand. There's nowhere to put the snow. Another thing that I noticed going out, and I went out Wednesday before the storm hit, I did go out a little bit Thursday, but, trash cans, all out in the street, where you couldn't, it's hard to turn around, it's hard to pass, hard for people to, I get it. They did have their driveways, but they didn't, there was so much snow piled up, and poor Bob, find a mound of snow to put our trash cans up. But people were just, I know in several of the dead-end streets, I could barely pass through, and I got several calls saying, we can't get out of our driveway because the neighbor's trash cans are in the street. So I don't know how we enforce that, more on doing that. I think it's for a bigger discussion on something on being able to do that. Mike, I know she did say something. I noticed our mail didn't come the other night till like almost 8 o'clock. And I had several residents that were talking about, the mail didn't come at all. And it's happened in the last couple of months or so. It's not just, you could see Thursday and Friday, because maybe they couldn't this and that. So I know you had reached out, to, the post office.
Yeah, I did reach out to them both locally and downtown. I know towards the end of last week it was difficult, obviously, that if the mail carriers can't get to the house, if your mailbox is like on your house, or, the chute, they were passing some of those. And I also heard, although not confirmed through the post office, I did hear from a couple other communities that the mail carriers are, in some communities, are operating kind of like on a flex schedule. And they can deliver when they can deliver. And some of them are getting their mail at 9, 10 o'clock at night, because that's when they're going out to do that. I don't know if that's necessarily happening here. I have not confirmed that. I can only say that I know other communities' mail carriers are, the one city, actually, we have an employee here, she said, I get my mail at 10 o'clock at night, that's when the mail carrier, and they're on a flex schedule. But I did call and voice the concerns about the delay, and obviously some of that they said was attributed to the storm. But I also called and voiced some of those concerns downtown as well.
Okay, good, and I did too, because I had a couple residents, and they get a lot of their medications by the mail, so they were real concerned, and so I said, well, same thing, contact downtown and let them know your concerns with that. Just kudos, one last thing, kudos to the rec department. I've been able to be fortunate enough to go to some of these fun things that they're having, some of the crafts that they're having on Wednesday every week. It's free. I encourage everybody to do as much as can, and then I tried out one of their new programs that's coming that's called Pound Fitness, where you take about 2-pound drumsticks and beat the floor and beat the air and have fun, and now my elbow hurts after 2 weeks later. But it was really fun. So they're incorporating a lot of programs for senior, if you're part of the senior groups, which I know a bunch of people out there are. It's a great thing, and a lot of really fun things coming up for the kids too. So kudos to the rec department, and happy Valentine's to all you ladies and guys too out there. In a report.
Thank you.
Before we get started with the new business, I need a motion to amend the agenda to add under new business letter C, ordinance number 9952-22. Motion by Asbury, second by Saunders. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9950-22.
Authorizing the city manager and the chief of police to enter into an agreement with the city of Solon for the use of the Solon City Jail facilities and declaring an emergency.
A motion for suspension by Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion third and final by Saunders, second by Asbury. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This contract, as it reads, allows us, contract with the city of Solon to utilize their jail facilities. Currently, our jail is a 12-day jail. In order to meet all of the state standards and guidelines, there's a lot of things that go into it. They do annual inspections, audits, whatnot, which they've recently done this year, and we met all of those, checked all those boxes. In order to operate it at that level, we have regularly had 2 full-time jailers and 5 part-time jailers. That's what you need to have to operate at that level. And a lot of those standards, we've always been above those. One example is you have to regularly check on a prisoner. You know, if it's an hourly check, someone has to be there, log, make sure everything's okay. Recently, and what we've seen is, over the last, we went back and we checked probably, I think it was, including 2019, our numbers were actually down. We've, on average, now listen, sometimes there's, 3-4 people in our facility, and sometimes there's none. But on average, when you average it out, it's about 1 person per 24 hours. What we've seen is, and that's going back through 2019, one of the things that, and as I mentioned, to operate at that level, we have 2 full-timers and 5 part-timers. Out of the part-timers, we have been down to 3. We're having a very difficult time staffing that. One of our full-timers had recently left. He's working at, in the municipal court. That's a challenge. Whenever we're down staffing, or even when we were down to those 3 part-timers, if someone would call off sick, you can't just operate as you would. We are forced to pull an officer from the road patrolling in to operate the jail. And obviously, that's not sustainable. We want our staff to be out there, in the neighborhoods, in the community. If someone needs something, that's where that patrol should be. When we actually took a step back and we looked at this, we looked at our numbers, we looked at, from a liability standpoint, from a workers' comp standpoint, when it really gets broken down, if we shift, and we're not closing our jail, but if we shift to, for instance, a 6-hour facility, and not fill those positions, take them away some of the other liabilities, some of those workers' comp things, we can conservatively, I believe it'll be more, but conservatively, if our numbers stay the same as what they've been through 2019, by working with Solon, we would save probably somewhere around $80,000 annually, every year. Our recommendation is to do that. Again, it doesn't mean we're closing our jail. We would still bring people in. We would still have a full-time jailer. We would still utilize that. What that means is if we bring someone in that has to be in a facility longer than that, we would then need to transport them to the Solon facility. I've been briefing council on this in a memo a number of times over the last month. Our staff has actually went and toured their facility. It's larger, very well run, adequate staffing, meet all the standards. When we actually sat down, it was the leadership in the police department, Frank and Jennifer and myself, we sat in here a couple weeks ago, and honestly, I looked at it and I said, what am I missing? To me, this is kind of like a no-brainer. And looking around the room and asking that simple question, the consensus was, you're not missing anything. It really is a no-brainer. Where we're at today, based on our numbers, based on the difficulty over the last year to maintain that full staffing, by shifting and dropping down to the 6-hour facility, still function obviously at a high level. We can still utilize our prison when needed. We would still keep that full-time staff member, but having to transport someone, we would save significant dollars. We would reduce the liability, and we wouldn't have to take officers off the road to monitor a jail when we're short-staffed. So our recommendation is to move forward with this. It does not mean, by doing this, it does not mean that we can't shift in 2 years. If our numbers warrant it, if things seem to free up a little bit, and as far as employment and being able to hire, we could go back. So that is an option in the future, but as of right now, from all those reasons outlined, it's our recommendation, the administration, both police and myself's recommendation that we move forward with this contract.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9951-22.
Amending section 1701 of our codified ordinance of the city of Bedford relating to location and attendance of meetings.
Need a motion for first reading?
Stan,
Yes.
got a question. I think we really ought to table this until it gets totally rewritten, because there's so much wrong with it, the way it's written. Instead of putting it on first reading, I think we ought to table it.
Well, putting it on first reading is basically the same thing, because it gives us time to do that, and it works about the same either way. I'm happy to do it either way. I think first reading's fine, or table it. If we give it first reading, then
Always table
you
it
have
next
to do
time.
something with it, because we got a timetable with it.
Yeah.
That might be a better reason. We'll have a timetable if we put it on first reading. Okay? And again, and that's why we put things on first reading. This is new legislation to us, so it gives us time to get into it further and talk with people and make sure we get it right, because it's a big deal. Also, the state is looking in, this is to hold virtual meetings in City Hall, go back to the old Zoom meetings. This would allow us to do that, but the state right now is in the process, it's been proposed in the House or the Senate down in Columbus to grant everybody the right to do that, so putting on first reading gives us time to check out all those things instead of just passing it. And, right now, it's not perfect, so we'll go with the first reading. Did I get a motion? By Fluharty, second by Spinks. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
This is the vote for putting on first.
Just first reading, yeah.
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
No.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9952-22, the one we just amended.
Authorizing a contract to purchase a Life Pack 15 V4 monitor defibrillator from Stryker EMS and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion for suspension by Asbury, second by Saunders. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Fluharty, second by Spinks. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This is for the purchase of a LifePack monitoring and defibrillation machine for the fire department. This is provided through a sole source provider, budgeted for, and our recommendation is for approval.
Yeah, and, you know, these things cost a lot of money, but the reason is for the fire department. You know, we have a automatic defibrillator in the hallway here, in case someone needs them right away. We have them in different departments in the city. This is a very sophisticated piece of equipment that even back when I was on the fire department, I was not allowed to use because I didn't have the proper training. All our guys now do have that, but besides just being able to provide a shock to get somebody's heart going, they can monitor a person directly to the hospital. A doctor there can look at it and say, hey, you better start this drug, do that. It's a real lifesaver. And hopefully by using the monitor part of it, you can save somebody before you have to get into where you're shocking their heart. So it's just a valuable piece of equipment and one we need to have over there. So, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
The next three motions are from our planning commission. Just a reminder, a yes vote means you agree with the planning commission. A no vote means you disagree with the planning commission. So, John, number D, please.
So can we get a motion to approve the planning commission's decision to approve Mr. Rice's application to expand the services at his barber salon to provide nail services? And Mr. Rice is here, should anyone have any questions?
I have one question on the nail services. Are you gonna meet the state specs for ventilation and all of that? Because there are specific requirements for nails that the state requires.
Yes, so I'm working with the building commission directly, to figure out what ventilation the state needs and what the city wants as well.
All right.
Thank you. Call the roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Need a motion for, to accept the planning commission's decision by Asbury, second by Saunders. Now call the roll.
Janutus,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And letter E.
Motion to approve the planning commission's denial of Ms. Sharp's application for a conditional use approval to open and operate a braiding and manicure salon for the reasons that an saturation of similar businesses exist in the district. It would be detrimental to competing businesses and would preclude other necessary services that could be provided to the public.
And I need a motion for such, a motion to approve the planning commission's decision. Being seconded by Fluharty.
Sharp is not here, not present.
Call the roll.
Janutus,
No.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
And motion F.
And can we get a motion to approve the planning commission's denial of the application of Ms. Vogan, or Mr. Vogan and Idrissa Adara for a conditional use approval to open, operate a beauty salon for the same reasons they denied the other one, which was an oversaturation of similar businesses existing in the district. It would be detrimental to competing businesses in the area and hair services and the sort, and would preclude other necessary services being offered to the public. And the the hours of operation would have been 9 AM to 10 PM, 7 days a week. The applicants are here if anybody should have a question.
Do I have a motion to approve the planning commission's decision to deny? Spinks, second by Fluharty. Before we call the roll, anybody have any questions? Oh, yeah, what's the address for this?
725 Broadway,
Which one?
725.
725 Broadway.
Which I believe is Mr. Kulis's building, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Questions? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Janutus,
No.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
No.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochi,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Application's denied.
Yeah, and, but that does not preclude you from opening a business outside of the historic district. This only pertains to the historic district.
Thank you very much.
And at this time, we will have our hearing of citizens. If you wish to speak, please come forward, state your name, your address, and your comment.
Go ahead.
I missed that. They did it just for me.
Bill Astolis, 685 Archer Road. And I just wanted to say, Don mentioned about Warner Batten, and I think he's done more for the city and the residents than any individual in the city. Most of you probably don't know all he's done. He formed a community council, which for many, many years had a lot of fundraisers, gave thousands of dollars in scholarships. He spent, updated the electrical at the square, put the brick ramp between South Park and Historical Society, bought all those trash cans. They paid partial, I think it was partial of the cost for 2 senior vans. The list just goes on and on. He helped the city pay for the fireworks for years when they were having fireworks on the 4th of July. And the list goes on and on. That's just a small portion of what he did. And I think it'd be remiss of the city if they didn't do something to honor him. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. That's why I said when we find out about the memorial service, we will certainly put the word out there.
Jeff Duber, 134 Harriman Street. I have a request for council. I'm not supposed to use the word hate, so I'm going to say I strongly dislike fireworks. The state recently passed a new fireworks law. House Bill 172 was signed by the governor. Not surprisingly, it lessens the restrictions on fireworks. There's a strong fireworks lobby in the state. They spend a lot of money on legislators and trying to lessen the fireworks codes in the state, and they've done that. One of the things that the legislature did with this particular bill, which is very surprising, and I compliment them on it, is that they allowed municipalities to restrict the use of fireworks, both of the discharge and sales of fireworks in the state. I have to say that one of the reasons that I dislike fireworks, very early in my career, we had an individual who was somewhat of a professional. He set off neighborhood fireworks displays. For years and years he did it, and had an accident, and fireworks, he was looking into a mortar, and unfortunately the firework went off when he was doing it. We transported him to Metro Hospital, and he was dying in the squad, and he died at Metro. So experiences with that are something that stay with you for a long time. Fireworks are dangerous. This council recently passed a approval for a facility that will supposedly house veterans, and one of the things that veterans are common for is suffering from PTSD. For the benefit of security for the veterans, well-being of animals, safety of children, and also the sanity of residents. I've heard recently, this past year, where people were shooting off fireworks after midnight, and it's not the kind of fireworks that you hold in your hand and go off. It's just not uncommon to hear that. There are some communities who have already started the process of complying or getting into the allowable restrictions of House Bill 172. I know University Heights is working on that. I believe Broadway Heights is working on an ordinance. So my request would be not only that this council pass an ordinance, but also to ensure enforcement of an ordinance. The city recommends that people shovel their sidewalks. They recommend that people don't put leaves in the street. They recommend that they clear snow from hydrants. They recommend that they not put the rubbish containers out too early, but there's hardly any enforcement done on that. The city has no parking bans for when there's a certain amount of snow. They spoke about plowing snow on property, parking on lawns. You see this all the time. It's not enforced, or it's rarely enforced. You need to have a commitment from the enforcing authority and actually enforce a restriction. There are some of the communities are looking at banning the use and sale of fireworks, which you're allowed to do under this ordinance. I would recommend that if you don't enforce the sale of fireworks, that anybody that does sell the fireworks would be required not to post a notice, but to actually post a notice that's made by the city indicating that the use of the fireworks are not prohibited, are not permitted in the city. Also, some of the communities are talking about working with their neighboring communities in the hopes of getting a regional enforcement of the ban on fireworks. That way, it doesn't stop at city limits. I think it's something that's very important. I think it's something that's needed for the well-being of the citizens of our city, and I would request that council look into passing and enforcing an ordinance dealing with House Bill 170. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will be bringing that up to our mayors and managers meeting, next meeting, to get a kind of a consensus of all the mayors at the meeting from the whole county to, if we all can agree together on these things, it'll put a lot more teeth into that. And you're right. I totally agree. As you know, being the fire captain for many years, I dealt with the same thing and saw too many bad things go wrong with fireworks, including a young girl that blew off her hand by mishandling one. It's just nasty stuff. But we'll look in, and thank you for your comments.
Bombard you.
Am I in trouble?
Bart and I live on Henry Street. Betty lives around the corner from us on Broadway. John, or on John. And John, okay. Years and years ago, the city had this little contraption that would go do the sidewalks.
Okay, know where you're going.
Why do we not have that now?
Many reasons.
Why can't we?
That hasn't been done in over 40 years.
And the reason we were told that they quit doing it was because people complained they messed up their yard.
That's one of the reasons.
But they can fix their yard in the spring.
They were called the bombardier, had to plow on them.
Yes, and it worked
The
beautifully.
poor guys that drove those, you can't believe how many times they were hit with snow shovels and banged on. It was not a pleasant piece of equipment to drive, and they did tear up yards, and people would complain because they went by and they pushed snow onto where they just shoveled their drives. So I know what you're talking about here. I remember them coming down the streets.
They used it up in Cuyahoga Heights up until at least less than 10 years ago. I don't know if they still do or not.
Yeah, some cities do some stuff. I think Bricksville might do something, but they got the money for it.
But on our end of Henry Street, there are 20 or 21 homes, 21 lots.
How many is in the senior?
There are 8 of them that are seniors, plus there's a couple vacant houses, plus there's a vacant lot, and then there's a couple rentals that are vacant part of the time. So you're dealing with a bunch of older people that can't be out there in this kind of weather, trying to get all this stuff out of their yard.
Yeah, sidewalk, plus I have a hydrant in
First,
my
before
driveway.
we need to have your name and address for the record.
I live at 187 Henry. I live at Gilbert. But the city should be doing this as a service.
Yeah.
Well,
Feel they should be
yeah,
doing
and like I say,
something.
it's been like 40 years.
Yeah, no, I'll
For
just
the
touch on it.
elderly.
I've talked to Councilman Fluharty about it and other council members as far as a service like that. I don't want to promise anything today, right?
We don't
You know,
expect-
one thought process was if we, from starting, this wouldn't solve this concern, but trying to start some type of program, is it contracted out, what can we do on some of like the main roadways? You know, where there's heavy traffic, where there might be people forced to walk in the street, like in Northfield, Broadway, Columbus, Rockside, as a starting process. To kind of elaborate, and I wasn't, I was around, I don't remember the bombardiers. I don't remember them, but I was around. I did talk to some of the staff that was here when we had them, and what had happened was, so we would use them. What it led to is we were using the bombardier, and the amount of complaints that were coming in that we damaged the lawn, they actually had staff members. I know you might, I'm just going, it was significant that we had staff members dedicated for the entire spring. They would go around and repair and replant grass. And it got to a point where it was something like, it's just not, we could be utilizing these individuals for more patching of holes. We could be utilizing these. And so that's kind of some of the reason. I don't, like I said, I don't remember, I don't remember them.
First off,
And I don't wanna
the city
say-
owns the tree lawn, so if the city messes up the tree lawn, it's, so what? And personally, we would go out and fix our own darn yard in the spring.
I want to ask you a question. My sister-in-law lived in Twinsburg. The city, she was an older lady, the city would plow her driveway. How come Bedford can't do that? To the ones that can't get out, like me, I can't get out and shovel my driveway.
To the seniors, yeah, it's something that we never, it's a program that we really never got into, is to plowing private properties.
You know, if like, say, I qualify for somebody to come to plow my driveway, But if they've got somebody living with them, that's a different story. But like my sister-in-law, she lived by herself. They would come, they put the stakes in, they come in Plover's, driveway. And I'd like to know why Bedford can't do that,
It's
because there's a
limited,
lot of
yeah.
senior citizens around here.
It's also limited, I know, we applied to and it didn't get it, so.
Bedford used to
And
come
that was Twinsburg, so.
and for a fee,
Not for everyone.
and this has been before I moved up onto John Street, but my neighbor used to, I don't know, $5 or something, and they would at least come up and plow out her apron. Because the city has put all that stuff there. And, I mean, and I appreciate the fact that they plow the roads and they do a
But
good
they
job,
do,
except
except
on
on the
Broadway.
streets, they do.
There's 5 trucks that go down, and so you
Yeah.
know where I'm at. I live on the corner of John and Broadway, so I get it all.
A lot of doing with the plows is, what you have is, it's not necessarily the cost, it's a matter of doing it all at one time. You may get your driveway plowed at 8 in the morning, maybe 12 o'clock in the afternoon. If you gotta get out for a doctor appointment, coordinating all that with contracts, not easy.
I
As people have
understand
had that.
that, but,
Macedon
you
used to
know.
have a program like that too, and heard the complaints from people, you know, wasn't fast enough, wasn't this, wasn't that. You're gonna have those issues with any of this snow plowing. Over 30 years, I've heard it time and time again. And it's true, the Bombardier program, what they were talking about, more complaints than that, more time, more cost, double the cost of what it costs to do the Bombardier to take it out and do it. Better to just not do it because of the complaints. Actually, the people themselves had a great thing and ruined
The
it,
kids
so
are walking in the street.
that's what you had. And
I
then,
would rather plant grass than plow.
well, you would, but others
Shovel
don't
snow.
see it that way.
You got that right.
I can't shovel snow, but I can plant grass.
No,
All the cities that do those plowing of the driveways, I tell you, everyone I talk to, they do not start it because it's such a headache.
It's-
And we do have a staffing situation with not enough extra people to go do
Oh,
it.
I understand
It's a
that too.
big thing.
You know,
And,
mean, this-
they get calls where, you know, first snowflake falls, people, do my drive. Well,
I know
do
that.
you have
I
a,
do for the city.
you know, do you have a doctor's appointment? No, I just want to plow. But
Yeah.
they don't realize, they gotta be the last one on the pole, it might
You're on the
be
list.
2-3 days after the snowstorm before somebody
I'm
gets there.
only talking about the apron.
Yeah.
You know,
I just
that's,
And we
paid
never
about
used to-
we used to-
$50
we
to
had
do my
the-
driveway, and we waited a day
Yeah,
and a
we
half
did
for it to
aprons
get
many,
there.
many years
So
ago,
what?
65 and older are
So
disabled.
what?
But it was limited, and again, it was to be
And then I got
was
to go out there,
available.
they plow my street.
And we would do
All
it
my
later in
hydrant,
the
then I
day,
got back
not
out there,
fast
clean
enough.
off my hydrant again.
So we had complaints about that too with the aprons.
Anyway.
I mean, here's a nice service and yet.
But it's-
I'm gonna
yeah.
talk
So
amongst
it's-
the steps,
it's a
see if
shame.
there's anything.
It's hard.
I can't promise,
Yeah,
I
it's,
can't promise something just because it's, like, I think Frank made a good point. I mean, there's, you know, the 3 of you, or 3 properties. You know, I'm just hypothetical, based on our staffing, even if we hired some part-time staff, if you rolled out a program like that, there'd be hundreds of properties. Realistically, those couple staff members that we would have to hire to do that, it would be a couple days by the time they hit every, so I'm just.
People need to know that, okay, if you have a doctor's appointment, change it.
we have the
You
same
need
conversation.
to, we will put you on the list, and when we get to you, we get to
I
you.
have a question. Can we call the city and have somebody just shovel our hydrant? I have a hydrant on Broadway, and I can't get to it. And I know I couldn't move the snow around it anyways.
Yeah, see, I have one in my,
Let me know the
in my
address.
house.
Pardon?
Let me know the address.
Two-
The city won't do that, like the city doesn't do that,
Do
but,
we have to do it?
like clearing the plug, like around the fire hydrant, yes.
Yeah, because
That's
I
what-
have one in my tree line right
That's
in
what
front of
we
my
ask.
house.
If you have one in your yard, my card's up here. If you call me tomorrow with that address, I'm pretty certain I can find a volunteer to do that for you.
Okay, yeah.
But I can't, the city's not, you know, and it might be after hours or in the evening.
I
It's
wouldn't
not a
care.
city program, but
Right, I
can.
understand
I
that,
can
but I
get that.
can't do it.
Yeah, the fire department used to go out and shovel out hydrants. I mean, when I was a new firefighter, we did that when we could. But when I started on the fire department, we had 300, 400 runs a year. Now there are 3,000 runs a year,
Right.
so it's just,
Just grab that.
Mayor, if I might, there's two things. One, when we did the aprons, it was people were trying to get out for their doctor appointments, so we would assist them in that manner for the aprons. So it wasn't all the time for everybody, so that helped when we limited the calls to go and get that done, if my memory is correct. And also the other part, to solve all these issues, what we did is we had the recreation department get a bunch of listings of landscapers available, when we do plowing, and get it at discounted rates. And that's the best we could do at that point, to spread that.
The guy that does mine, I got his number from the city and
Yeah. Please not.
it's not cheap.
No, they're not.
What's your address? Your address, 172.
Okay, thank you for
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
I've lived in Bedford for all my life, so I know what they used to do.
So was I.
It was 170. Everybody else was having one.
Denise Bengali, 27 Tudor Avenue. I'm going to actually jump around here just a little bit because I was making notes in the back. Regarding snow removal, there is an app that is available if you have a phone, cell phone, and it's called Green Pal. It works like Uber or Lyft, so if you have that, I can share that with you later as well. Also, just a thought. Years ago, we had a community service program for youth offenders. It was visited and reminded to some people at the last quarter of Ward 1 and I think Ward 3 ward meeting, or Ward 4. It was 1 and 4. It was brought back up again. It was tabled because of COVID. Why can't that be brought back in? Just a thought, passed by the chief. But that was something that was done for youth offenders. Usually their community service was done on Saturdays. If they're offenders, we've got a lot of streets that need to be cleared as far as snow removal. They can go outside. We wouldn't have to worry about COVID restrictions on something like that. My next questions are, the jail. Are we taking officers off our road and out of our city to transport?
On some occasions, we would have to transport them to Solon. There's some that we would use our jailers, the part-time jailers, if we would keep them on. For instance, if someone would need to get transported down to the county. But where the jail's located in Solon, we actually transported someone. We had a lieutenant speak earlier today. It is literally, you go, you drop, you leave. By the time he left Bedford, he was back in Bedford within 30 minutes.
Okay, so we're at least down a car, possibly.
That is, but
It's
that is
minimum,
nowhere,
30.
it's nowhere in comparison to taking that officer off the road to sit back here and monitor the jail. That individual would be off the entire shift.
Okay,
Because, as the lieutenant mentioned, you can't just come in and check the prisoner and leave. That prisoner has to have access to buzz out and call in someone if he would need something. So it's not like you checked, it's okay, I'm gonna sign the log, and to meet the standards, that person has to be in the jail. So that 30-minute difference, and again, that transporting that person doesn't have to be, we gotta get this guy right now. It doesn't have to be that way. It could be, our officers are on the road, we have someone here that's been here for 4 hours, we know he's gonna be here longer. We can use it when we're down calls, if there's no calls, hey, listen, I'm going to transport so-and-so over to Solon, I'll be gone for 30 minutes. We can do it in that fashion.
how much are we paying Solon?
It comes to the contract $70,200. If we come in under our numbers, we would get reimbursed. If we would come in over our numbers, the max would be about $80,000. Even with paying that $80,000, based on what we would be saving, even paying that, we would still be ahead conservatively about $85,000. I honestly believe it's gonna be more than that. Not getting into claims, we've had workers' comp situations over the years where jailers have been injured, dealing with prisoners, fighting with prisoners, where they've been out. There's claims that affect the city in that regard. That's not even touching that. Just on the mere shaving the salary of the part-timers that we would not be required to hire and paying out, we would conservatively save about $85,000.
Okay, well, we'll see how that works out then, in that respect. Minor touch on here, dealerships. I sent you photographs of all of the dealerships the past weeks. What is going on with them? Only one actually cleared part of their sidewalk.
So the building department was out last week, they were out again on Friday. I sent those dealerships, all of the dealerships, in a group message that I have with them regularly, that I communicate with them. I sent them an email earlier today regarding those walks.
Okay, because I had actually sent those to you before the next snowfall.
Right.
And,
And our building department was out. They were out all last week, talking to business owners. They were out, actually,
Yeah.
we went and we talked to Giant Eagle. Giant Eagle did clear all of their walks. And we talked to a couple other businesses on Norfield, Automile, all those were on the list. Between, service department, we had staff trying to prepare, knowing what was coming. So they were out doing that. Obviously, yes, some did not comply and there are still blocked walks, and we're trying to address those.
okay. May I ask then also, I'm gonna now go to my next main part of my topic here. Why are we even considering virtual meetings again?
Why? So we could, one of the things brought up last week, you saw the legislation we had, we couldn't pass because we didn't have enough people here,
Okay,
which doesn't preclude, say, somebody, for example, has a broken leg, they can't get in, especially in this kind of weather. They could be on the Zoom call, and we could be here, they could be on the Zoom call, we could all be on the Zoom call, for all different kind of reasons. But that's why we tabled it, because we gotta look into the exact things that we can and
Okay.
can't do.
It's actually requiring us to hold a meeting at City Hall unless there's some unusual circumstances.
Right, it's not gonna happen.
Unless it would be if, the way it's worded, well, we gotta work on the wording a little bit, but if the person can't make it, we're allowing that person, we're not saying we're all gonna do it virtually, that's not the intent, I don't think, but I think the intent is if one or two people can't make it, that their vote could still count if they submitted virtually.
but the state doesn't allow that right now.
That's debatable.
No, that's what the legislation they're working on now.
Right, but as of this point, they're not allowed.
Right, that's why we tabled it, or put it on first reading, so we could look into, we could pass it all day long, but if the state doesn't allow it, we can't do it.
Okay,
It was a hot topic, and COVID was peaking at the time, and, you know, it still is a hot topic.
Several cities have passed that legislation.
well, the cities that have done it are is Bedford Heights and Shaker Heights, correct?
Independence as well, and
Independence,
probably several others, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but they're still operating under SB 197, Pursuant, according to Bedford Heights.
Well, that's
That's
whatever
right.
they do, we
So
don't control.
the thing is,
so-
though, is that you're not gonna be, using that as a pursuant to go virtual then? Because that was put down then in July of last year.
Right, when the
Okay.
state said you can't do it anymore. Some cities were still doing it, how they did it, I don't know, not my concern.
Okay. I'm just gonna read this as, I'm just gonna read it. I'm just going to do it, because this is how I feel about the whole thing going virtual. I really don't think that there's a need for it at this point in time. Regarding the virtual meetings, the mere act of putting this kind of self-serving rule, ordinance, on the agenda shows a complete self-unawareness of how council and government in general are perceived by the general public, by those that would attempt to pass it. Without having read the proposal, I would withhold specific comments about the effort and reasons. In a time when governments around the world are listening to science and relaxing measures that have seriously destroyed economies, businesses, and personal freedoms around the world caused by ineffective lockdowns, the mask wearing as anything but a badge of compliance, here comes some outrageous suggestion too late at without merit. Considering the first obligation of council is to represent their constituents and have open meetings twice monthly where the public can face their elected official in person and express their views. Most of the attendees of those meetings would be hard-pressed to communicate virtually. Secondly, council must not be hampered by any member physically or mentally unable to perform their elected function for an extended period of time. An example, Heather Rhodes realized this and gracefully resigned with dignity for the good of the effort, which is an exception. It remains to be seen how the charter might address exactly what is being proposed until it is in print. Certainly, the council would be so foolish as to pass 9951-22, obviously on first reading, without extensive public discussion. That discussion would include: what is the attendance record of each council person for the last 5 years? How absolutely essential are they to the functioning of the city? What is the effect of their own convenience quarantine on their communication with the residents? How does the charter address this type of derelict of duty? Who initiated the ordinance? There has been ongoing conversation regarding the paying compensation of the taxpayers are shelling out. What they are actually getting in the way of value added to the operation of Bedford from these members, and in these difficult economic times, should the number of council people be reduced? When the comparisons were made to other cities, looking in at what expense per council member is, a stark disparity exists when comparing Bedford. Ongoing discussions regarding the equalization of wards addresses non-compliance with the requirement to do so every 10 years for the purpose of balancing the voting poll books. When was the last time that was done? In the shrinking population of Bedford, those discussions should include reducing the size of council to 4 members with 1 at large. Considering the comparisons of residents per council member, a close look would also reveal a stark disparity with the Bedford having far fewer being represented. Therefore, perhaps it is appropriate at this time to have the team of residents look into these numbers, make cost-saving recommendations to council, which should act in harmony with the will of the people. It is time to possibly circulate petitions for placement on the November ballot. The questions articulated here should be put to the voters of Bedford as allowed by the charter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, motion for adjournment. Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming.
Too much water.